Your initial reaction to the JFK assassination?
I would say I was just like Grandpa, pretty much in shock. I was sitting at home in front of our television. I was a junior in high school at that time, and I could not believe that a country as sophisticated as we were supposed to be, the Americas and the USA, would allow something like that to happen. And I do believe that the assassinations took place. To me, it almost paralleled Lincoln when I was living it and when I read about it, because Lincoln was assassinated for trying to free the Negroes. We were assassinated, or Kennedy was assassinated by trying to do the Civil Rights Bill and the Voters' Rights Bill and get better housing for them and help them have a better life. So they sort of, in my mind, they paralleled it, and I don't think that's fair. I just think that they should have had it all along instead of waiting 60 years for it.
Okay. Did you ever get to see any of the marches?
No, just on television.
Just on TV. That was pretty disgusting, though, wasn't it?
Well, the marches, you know, I saw many times. Saw the "I Have a Dream" speech in Washington D.C. and the march. So, you know, it was covered. Again, you know, the education was television. That told us that this was really happening, and this wasn't what we thought it should be.
Okay. Now I might be getting my times messed up here, but when Martin Luther King was assassinated, where were you at?
I think he was assassinated, what, in about 68?
69, I think.
68, 69. I was in college, and we were having some lunches and dinners with my friends, and everybody was in just absolute shock that he would become assassinated, because he was such a leader, and so he could preach, I swear, the Baptist minister effect on anyone, and you were just entranced when you listened to that dream speech, and you believed in him. You know, he really wanted peace. And it was just disgusting.
From what I have understood, there were quite a few people who didn't agree with him because he wasn't standing for the entire black population. Would you say that's true or false?
In what way?
In the way that I guess that's a hard question.
It's a question of, you know, when do we have 100% of anybody, you know, of a group of people all agreeing on the same thing? There were radicals, there were people at the time, there were a lot of blacks that were violent, that riots occurred. But, you know, even in India, you know, where, you know, peace was supposed to be a thing, it doesn't work. So there were people that wanted other things to happen. You know, Martin Luther King was a marcher, and, you know, he came to prominence rather quickly, you know, and he couldn't be in all places at all times, and he didn't agree with everybody, whether, you know, but he was the picture or the person for this movement, as Lincoln was for the Civil War. You know, I mean, you focus on somebody. There were a lot of other leaders at the time.
I think he was the person, though, that brought it together from those Birmingham letters.
Brought a lot together, yes.
When he wrote that in jail, you know, the letter in jail, and he brought it to Kennedy. I think he's the one that, you're right, he was the spokesperson and the figurehead that brought it forth. And so I'm sure he probably didn't represent everyone, but forthright, I think he was pretty good representation of the black community.
But even now he's, you know, he represents the ideal, the idea. You know, that name is civil rights.
Okay, so switching topics really quick. What can you tell me about the Red Scare?
Well, I will defer to Grandpa.
Okay.
Red Scare. McCarthyism. I mean, the communists. There's a communist under every bed, and the communists are going to take over. You know, that was the thing. You know, we were fighting against the communists, and who was the communist? It was the guy next door if you didn't like somebody. So that was the Red Scare.
Were there people in your workplace that ended up losing their job because they were accused of being a communist?
No, at my age,
Oh,
I was
I
in
forgot.
school.
Yeah.
So,
Did
but
your dad, like, if your dad was working at the time, did he know anyone who?
No, that it was pretty well debunked after the McCarthy hearings and after Joe McCarthy was put back. But you know, that was the Red Scare. You know, everybody had a different thought, and there were communists. There were people that were members of the Communist Party.
I had a different experience than you. It was one of the teachers that I was in high school with lost his job because of that. He actually came out and pronounced that he believed in communism and was part of that party, and he actually lost his job. Mr. Palin.
Okay. This is a question for both, or either one of you. The Cold War, what can you tell me about that?
For me, again, it was in school. We learned Geiger counters and to get under the desks,
Yeah.
metal desks, and do all that. That was my Cold War. But you know, Khrushchev, the Cuban crisis. You know, everybody was afraid that we were going to have a nuclear war back and forth, but it turned out to be really a war of words more than a war of
Action.
until, of course, Vietnam, and that was the domino effect.
Okay.
So-
Grandma?
I would agree with what Grandpa said.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have, so thank you.